feelings closest to you. The poison they choose, and the beauty that they do. Every other feelings closest to you. Don't just stand there, do what you got to do. From me, you've misused. Sit there, make me look guilty. You will even anyways ride with me. Have a career at yourself. Train you man so well. No more boosting your ego. Your mom's moved on. All that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, but all that she wants is another baby. All that she wants is another baby. She's gone tomorrow, but all that she wants is another baby. Another baby. Closest to you. The poison they choose, and the beauty that they do. But it never happens, there's a spark in the flame. Don't just stand there, do what you got to do.
I was feeling pretty calm, and then I found this filter. And it kind of made me feel like it brought something out from inside. But I very much wanted to do something serious and create awareness for a topic that was personal for me. And in doing that, I had to deter from doing something else. And that something else gave me a good amount of attention. I'm still kind of figuring out what it is that I'm doing. And what I'm advocating for, whether it's myself or someone else or a base of people. And even what my art is. I don't even know what my art is. I'm not much of a creator. I try to create. Well, that's not true. I take that back. I dabble, and I play, and I learn along the way. Forgive my rhyme. I like to take things, like very much in my job that I'm doing right now, I like to take things that somebody told me to do, and things that have already been put into place, have already been put here for me, to use. But aside from, unlike my job, I get to be creative, and there's a freedom with creativity. I feel like I'm just bored. And I feel like I'm just bored. I feel like when you get, and when I say I feel like, it's because it's about how I feel. When you get everything, not everything, obviously, you never have enough as, not as humans, but as a society I'm referring to as a society that I was raised in. You can never have enough. And shoot for the whatever was there. But I feel like I've been very simple, and I've asked for very little. Keeping my dreams to myself and running with them. Very proud of it. There's people that do things that I haven't been able to do, or haven't taken the time or found the energy. I've just been very tired. Very tired. It kind of was like a wave of exhaustion.
You know that we're gonna love tonight.
They're cool tactics working for Miley Cyrus as she smokes on joints and stage at the VMAs. Nothing is ever done to this generation for doing wrong things, but my precious body, who's worked for my dad for the past fucking 13 years, trying to be so good and pretty, so perfect when he works me so hard, when I do everything I'm told in the state of California, allowed my ignorant father to take his own daughter, who only has a role with me if I work with him. They set back the whole course and allowed him to do that to me. That's giving these people I've worked for way too much control. The control he had over someone as powerful as me, as 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 powerful as me, as powerful as me, as powerful as me, as powerful as me. Okay, cool. So be told I'm not good enough, but I'm great at what I do. And I allow these people to control what I do, ma'am, and it's enough. It makes no sense at all. Now, going forward, I'm not willing to meet or see anyone I've met with enough people against my will. I'm done. All I want is to own my money for this to end and my boyfriend to drive me in his fucking car. And I would honestly like to sue my family, to be totally honest with you. I also would like to be able to share my story with the world.
Of others, the ones closest to you. The poison they feed you and the voodoo that they do. But in rebellion, there's a sparkle of truth.
I think it's really important to not let fear control you. To not let fear of people laughing at you or fear that people won't believe you stop you from speaking, especially for something that's right. I was raised by a prisoner. My mother was not allowed to have boyfriends, date. She was not allowed to have friends. Any friends that she did have were considered lesser than because they weren't of a certain class of people. Was expected to do the housework, to be there, to make sure the kids were good. Dinner's done, laundry's done. Before the age of 10, my mother was placed in a psychiatric hospital twice. I visited her twice. I don't know how you let a child in that environment. I should not have been let in there. They should not have taken me in there, especially the people that were taking me in there. A child of my mental state and capacity should not have been let into the place where their mother was being held. She was placed there after suffering a miscarriage. My entire life I was told if my mother had ever had another child, she would die. When my mom told me and my sister that she was pregnant, we sobbed and we were afraid. We thought our mother was going to die if she had another baby. Now, thinking of it, she was so happy when she found out she was pregnant. I remember her showing us a sonogram and she was glowing and she was bursting with joy that she was bringing a life into the world. Another life. The children were told that their mother had fallen asleep in the bathtub after shaving her arms. I stood in the doorway as my mother was lifted by her then boyfriend out of the bathtub with blood-stained water dripping from her arms. And I was sat with her as she was babbling, asking, "Do you know where your mother is?" I don't know where my mother is. Speaking of her mother. After she got out, we moved to a pretty rough neighborhood. I stayed with my aunt a lot while she worked. And eventually we moved into a house, a 3-bedroom house. The 3-bedroom house was meant to house 4 people. Me and my sister got our own bedrooms. My other sister got the master bedroom. My mother's bedroom was a sun porch. A 4-foot by 13-foot back of the house in eastern Massachusetts During the summer, no air conditioning. During the winters, no heating. And in that room, she was made to sleep on a sofa. Most of her closet space was taken up by storage, and her things were meant to be in trash bags and bins. My mother did not have a job at a certain point. She was a nurse until she couldn't be a nurse anymore because nurses work the hardest. My mother was ill mentally and physically, and she could not do what a nurse does. So she went on government assistance as much as they provided for her. She struggled buying her own clothes from the Family Dollar while her children demanded new school clothes and sneakers so that they can be accepted in school. She stayed up all night, slept a very little, mostly survived off of medication. She wanted her kids to have a better life than she did. She grew up hiding her mother, who was dying of cervical cancer, in a closet from her father, who was an abusive alcoholic, hence mental illness. But because she was mentally ill, her rights were stripped away, and she was not allowed to have a normal life as any mother should. I was told that if you are a mother, you are not allowed to have a life anymore and be a adult woman. You are meant to stay at home, take care of the kids. It's not right to have your children used against you. It will kill you.
When it comes to me, I confess if I've done wrong. But in your eyes, I see I'm guilty. I'm guilty. The stress that keeps me strong. I feel as though my heart is empty, 'cause you're not with me. In my secret place.
Growing up in a house was nice. I lived in apartments with my mom and my sister. And I either had like a really small bedroom, or we all usually just kind of slept together, or I really wanted to sleep alone. Having my own bedroom was cool. Like a big bedroom where I had a lot of space. The space that really for the first time that I felt I could be creative in. I mean, thinking about it now, I remember a tension. Nobody was really happy. There was a lot of anger and yelling, and it was always, me and my mom, we always got along great. We had a really good relationship. We had a good time together. It's very attached. The years before my mom died were blurry and difficult. One day I woke up and she was gone. I talked to her on the phone later that day, and she just told me that she couldn't do it anymore, that she didn't want to be the maid anymore. She wanted to be in love and be an adult and enjoy the rest of her life. Unfortunately, we all reacted terribly. We ignored her. She had gone to New Hampshire and gotten married. Yeah, I was angry. I understand now why she did it, why she left, because the abuse, the addiction, the trauma that she had to relive every day. I was bullied a lot, even by the people that were calling me. My friends were picking on me and verbally and physically abusing me. I was kind of left alone in the house with these two other people that I didn't really care for because of the way that they treated my mother. I eventually came around and missed my mom and wanted to be with my mother, so I went and I visited her and her husband in their trailer in New Hampshire. They lived in a trailer in a very sketchy trailer park in New Hampshire. She seemed happy in her little trailer that she had all cleaned and put together. She had her own bedroom and her own closet space, and she had all her stuff hung up, and it was hers. I kind of made amends with her before she eventually did pass away. I remember the last time I talked to her on the phone. She was asking me to ask her sister if she would go and pick her up because she wanted to come home again. Over the couple of years that she had moved away, she would come, say that she didn't want to be there anymore with it. She would always go back, and then she would always want to come back because of whatever reason. Yeah, it was very confusing. It was very hectic. Last time I talked to her, she was asking me to ask her sister if she would come and pick her up so that she can come back home again. And I was just like, yeah, okay, sure, I gotta go. I'm going to a friend's house. Which was true. I rushed her off the phone and left for my friend's house where I got shit-faced drunk. I think that was the first time that I have ever gotten so just tore up drunk. Stumbled home at about 7 a.m. Walked in. They told me that my mom was in the hospital and that she probably wasn't going to make it. That kind of made me angry that they were being so negative. In the past, she had health issues, so she had been in the hospital before, and she had come home fine. So I thought it was just another time that my mom had gone to the hospital. My aunt came into my bedroom and asked to talk to me and my sister in the hallway. And she told us that my mom died. I didn't know how to feel. I wasn't very good with emotions. I was a very closed-off teenager. The only person I really told I love you to was my mom. I made sure I always told my mom that I loved her, hugged her, and kissed her. But she was the only one. I wasn't like that with my family or friends. So I didn't know how to feel. I don't remember what I said. I kind of knew that it was gonna happen, something like that. Not sure what to do or say. Could have done what my aunt was doing and what my sister was doing and sob, but I didn't really think that would make me feel better or make me feel anything was the right thing to do. I don't know. I didn't know what to do. So everyone just kind of dispersed back to their bedrooms as usual. I got on MySpace and I created a bulletin, or I forget what they called it, but yeah, I made a bulletin about my mom. It had a picture of me and my mom and the song by Bette Midler, Wind Beneath My Wings, because Beaches was my mom's favorite movie because it reminded her of her mom because her mom died of cancer, and I kind of dedicated it to her. Friends were kind of trying to get in contact with me, but I was kind of ignoring everybody. I kind of shut myself out. Things in my house were quiet. I took on a lot of the household chores. I took care of my grandfather. My grandfather, few years before my mother passed away, my grandfather started becoming ill, so the people he was living with couldn't really care for him anymore, so they passed him on to us. My mom only really told me the one story about my grandfather, him being an abusive alcoholic and abusing my grandmother while she was dying of cancer. So I didn't know how to feel about it. Every time I had ever visited him, he just seemed like a nice old man, seeing his grandkids. I don't know. But it always just stuck with me what my mom told me. I ended up taking care of him because my mom was supposed to take care of him. My aunt worked, and my sister was in college at the time, and I was a high school dropout. I wasn't working or anything, so I took care of my grandfather. I bathed him, fed him, everything. I did all that while I was getting my GED, excessively drinking and smoking weed in my bedroom and with friends. It wasn't too much of a problem. I was just coping and having a good time. The house that I grew up in fell apart. We had dogs and cats. The people that I was living with were in such a depressed state that they didn't really take care of themselves or their dogs. I kind of just stayed in my bedroom, and I went and I hung out with my friends, and I tried to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life, how I was going to get away from all this. The recession hit, my aunt lost her job, and my grandfather passed away. My sister dropped out of college and became bedridden along with my aunt. The house eventually got foreclosed on. My sister and her fiance, they went and got their own apartment, and my aunt and I got a little condo apartment not too far from where we used to live. I finished getting my GED. I was going to get my medical assistant certification and my phlebotomy certification. At one point, my aunt came to me and she said, "Once the lease is up, I'm going to go live with your sister and her boyfriend. What are you going to do?" And I was actively looking for work. Well, I didn't have any work history. We weren't encouraged to work. We weren't encouraged to do anything. We weren't pushed or motivated or forced even. I wish I had a source of motivation in my life growing up. I didn't. My mom trying to find a job at 21, 22, no work history, you're a 9th grade dropout, you're being told that you need to find somewhere else to live. It was scary. I didn't have anyone, so I went and looked for someone.
My problem is this, no way. I cry watching her name. See, I'm a fool everywhere. Cause you lose all my sense. It's not so, let's baby, oh baby. It's a crazy little thing called mad love. It goes something like this. Tangled up in you, twisted like I've never been before.
I feel like the way that people with mental illness perceive love is a little different. Speaking for myself, have felt very codependent on other people my whole life, going from my family to a partner. Eventually I met someone. We got along great, really good chemistry. I slowly started moving into his place. Kept everything very secret, low-key. I lied a lot. I started estranging myself from my family to escape the toxic way that they were living. I wasn't comfortable with my sexuality because of bullying that I had experienced in school and at home by family members. When I was 8, I was called a faggot, a sissy, just because I wasn't the little boy that they always wanted. After being in a relationship for a few years, I was invited to move to San Diego. I had nothing
else to lose in Massachusetts. So I moved to San Diego.
I have learned how to survive on my own, without friends, without family. Just me in a city. I inevitably found someone who gave me a kind of unconditional love that I didn't know I could find from anyone. The only unconditional love that I've ever felt in my life was from my mother. I have lived a life I never thought that I would. I put myself in a better place, in a productive place, in a positive place, with positive people and people that would encourage me.